How's it going? Tyler here with Mayne Angling, and gonna finally get back into doing some build videos for you here. This time I am going to actually be building a rod tube for a 4-weight rod I have. I've been meaning to make a case for it for a while, and I have some local semi-spalted beechwood that should do a fantastic job for it. So let's get started and right into it. So the first thing I have to do here is go through my lumber pile of beechwood here and get a piece that is about 32 inches long and about 5 inches at minimum in width. These pieces I'm going to cut down, and eventually I will cut them in half as well, down to about a 1/2 inch thickness. I was a bit too trusting of how well this had been jointed before, and I honestly wish I didn't skip jointing this piece, so it would have been a little bit nicer of a joint in the end product. But anyways, we're cutting these down to about 1.5 inches in width, and then after that I'm going to cut those in half down to 1/2 inch pieces. After that, I'm going to take these pieces all over to my planer and just to clean up the saw marks and get them all to a even thickness. There is a quick look at those boards, and this is me getting the table saw ready and set up to cut these strips down. And unfortunately, this is just about the time my battery died on this set, but imagine me cutting these all to 30 degrees on each side. After that, I'm doing a bit of a test layout just to see how the grain comes together and trying to make a continuous wraparound that looks like it flows well. After that, I'm going to do a test fit here too, just with the tape, see if there's any bad spots in the joints, which I did have a few high spots. And you'll see me take those down here, just with a chisel, taking off some of those inside edges to make sure there's not going to be anything in the way of getting a tight glue up. I'm using just painter's tape to do a rough bundle of these, and then I'm going to go back with filament tape, which is a lot stronger, to be able to really clamp down on those joints. And I also added a few clamps on the end off camera after this is all done up. And while that glue is drying up, I'm going to cut the end caps for this, which I'm making out of walnut. I'm cutting these to about 3-inch squares, and then I'll be laser engraving them after the fact to just get a little bit of brand recognition on there. Now I'm going to go ahead and take off all the clamps and the filament tape here and get it ready to cut down to final length before I glue on the end caps. For the glue up here, I'm going to use filament tape again just to hold these in place and get a bit of tension on them. And then I'll come back with some long 36-inch bar clamps just to get a bit more pressure. And on this whole build, I guess I should mention I'm using Titebond 3 as the glue, which I find is good for pretty much any woodworking projects I do, with the added bonus of being waterproof or water resistant. Once the glue is set on that and the clamps are taken off, I'm just taking it over to the bandsaw to do a very rough trim of those overlapping edges before taking this to the router table to trim up and true up the edges, as well as do a 45-degree chamfer on these. And my favorite activity, and I'm sure everybody else's, is sanding. I'm taking this down to 220 grit before I cut the end cap, and then I will also sand it to about 500 grit after that point, just to give it a nice high sheen finish that'll look great with the mineral oil I'm going to use over top of it. Because it's not a square shape, I'm using a bit of painter's tape here too, just over the area where I am going to make the final cut, just to try and prevent any excess blowout of the material. I'm cutting this 1 to 15 degrees, leaving enough room at the top that I can fit a hinge on, and I just seemed like when I was eyeballing it, 15 was about the right angle. So I'm quickly marking center on both the main rod tube and the lid here, just so I can line up the hinges I want to put on, and then I am going to mark around those just with a X-Acto knife. From there I'm going around and just making the indents a bit deeper with my chisel and taking off the extra material there with a chisel as well, which is not particularly my forte, and I do need a new set of chisels here pretty soon, so feel free to drop any recommendations you have in the comments there for good affordable brands of chisels. Just did a slight pre-drill of the holes here to make sure the wood doesn't split, and getting the screws sunk in on the lid first before I go to finalizing the dimensions and the inlay on the main rod tube. From there, it's on to the fun part of just giving this a generous coating of mineral oil. After that, I let this set, and I did end up putting actually a coat of a mix of beeswax and mineral oil over top of this just for a little extra durability. I like the natural feel and finish of oil finishes versus anything heavier, and I think it really makes the grain pop out. And here we have it, folks. This is the first one I've ever made, and I'm very happy with how it turned out. I think the beechwood looks fantastic, and the walnut accents on the end do a nice job of making things pop. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Feel free to hit that like and subscribe button. It's always much appreciated, and have yourself a fantastic day.